Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So I'm going to have some glamour shots in the background of the G304, which we're going to be talking about today. You can see that this is a modded version of the Logitech G304, and I wanted to do a review of it because first off, I haven't even done a review of the G305. The G305 and the G Pro Wireless are hands down my more favorite mice that I've ever used from Logitech. I want to talk about the pros and cons, the weight distribution, the weight difference from each of these mice, and I have a gram scale in front of me that we're going to highlight, and we're going to talk about some of the weight advantages and also the glide of these specific mice. I have the gameplay on the upper right. I don't think we're going to use it, but I have it there just in case as we're talking through this on my impressions and thoughts as we're using each of the mice. I also have underneath me a SkyPad, which I'm going to be reviewing later on this week as well. If not, maybe uploading before this one. Kind of depends. I've been spending a lot of time with this various gear and I want to talk about it. What's very interesting is the weight difference of these mice, and what has, as you saw, it has been pretty much gutted of the insides of the specific mouse that you see. The battery has been removed as well as much weight inside of the mouse specifically. You're probably asking, what is the weight difference from regular G305 versus a G304? These are practically the same mice. There is no difference, as you can tell. I have underneath of them Tiger Ice, and this one has the core pads underneath it. Pretty similar in feel. I think the Tiger Ice are slightly a bit more rounded. Those are PTFE mice feet that you can put underneath your mouse, just as a quick FYI. So I want to highlight the weight, and I've worked very hard to also lower the weight of my G305. So if I put the G305, you'll see what I have in here, which I've never discussed about on video before. You'll see that I have a battery converter from a AA to a AAA. So what I've done here is it converts it and has a conductor here, and then you put it in there and it converts from a AA to a AAA battery, which helps reduce the weight. I want to showcase the weight because normally the weight of this mouse is generally around 99 grams, which is pretty heavy, on the heavier side. And why I like the G305 specifically is the weight. It's very unique on its own right and how it feels, and it's really nice for a smaller shaped hand like my own, and how I can use a better fingertip grip. Now when I put it on the scale, it naturally weighs around 86. Now if you remove the shell, which I normally do in the back end, this drops down to around 78. So not half bad overall when you're trying to lower the weight. And the reason why you want to go for a lower mouse is depending on the surface that you're using and in the friction. Sometimes a heavier mouse can feel, especially for fingertip grip users like myself, can feel a little bit too, I guess, heavy to go for micro shots and make some corrections. This is a personal preference thing. Use this guide or review as you see fit. Now the interesting thing about this mouse that has been modded is, if I just put the weight on here on its own, that is at 73 grams, which is already much lighter and is rechargeable on its own without using a battery converter here. Now I naturally play without this on. If I put this here, boom, we are down to 65 grams, which is phenomenal. That's a really massive weight. And what's interesting is that this doesn't have all the holes drilled in it. It's really, really sturdy. You know, you can press this and, you know, the buttons are really, really strong. And I'm confident about that because I've used it for quite some time and know that this mouse, nothing is really going to mess up. It's going to be very, very strong and not have any issues. Compared to other modded G305 mice that I've had the holes drilled on the side, this is a really strong, sturdy, well put together build. Now how it charges is you put the little thing here, I'm sorry I'm scraping at the bottom there, this wire, the feedback it would have, it's not very long, so it lasts for about 40 hours since it is modded and it's using its own lithium battery. You put it like that and then you plug it into the USB and then you'll see the little red light essentially light up, and then you're pretty much good to go on that front. Now, the interesting part is how lightweight it is. As you saw, it's around 65 grams. And also the coloring is a little bit heavier, weighted heavier. Now, when we talk about the G Pro, the regular G Pro weighs about 80 grams. And then the super light weighs around 63. There you go, 63. Now, you can remove the puck at the bottom there. You're looking to lower the weight even more, and it drops down to a solid 60. Now, the interesting part, again, is when you would utilize this for the specific surface or mouse pad that feels best for you. Remember that the more PTFE at the bottom sometimes causes more friction. You'll see the massive difference in the PTFE and how much surface contact that it has on the mouse pad specifically. Interesting little fact, I prefer to use this one, and I'm probably going to butcher the names of the artisan pads. I apologize. The comment section, I apologize to all you guys as well, is I prefer to use the G Pro Superlight on the FX0, as well as the Otsu Hayate. Those are two personal preferences that feel really good, as well as the MP, I believe it's 150 Cooler Master, which is also a good mouse pad. Now for the G305s, I prefer to use the Artisan Heinz, which is a personal preference there, and I actually prefer to also use the Extra Soft for the FX0. For this one, I prefer to use a mid. So it's interesting where I gravitate towards in terms of mouse pads. In the SkyPad, I guess since I have it at the bottom here, I actually prefer to utilize the SkyPad for the Soup Ultralight. What's interesting about this is a little bit, I guess I don't have as much grip, and I can probably put this on here to garner that much more grip. But what's interesting, all the PTFE at the bottom of the G Pro, it gives me a little bit more friction to kind of go off of rather than the five points of contact at the bottom of this. So this is just a quick video review talking about the G304 versus the G305. This modded version, that's pretty cool. I really, really like it. These are my top mice. This one more or less now, because this here, my two contenders are going to be the Ultralight as well as the modded G304 that I have here. These are now my go-tos, and I have a hard time, so I love using both of them. They both feel really good to utilize. And if I plug this one back in, we're here real quick. You probably heard the Windows noise, so I apologize for that for those that are on their computers and they're like, what the heck just happened? And let me get this in here, and there we go, perfect. And we were to utilize this, let me move the scale out of the way for you guys. And if we have a gun that we pull out here, it feels really, really sharp. I love the overall feel of the mouse, and I prefer it actually without the back part, just because it feels a little bit nicer just to move around. And yeah, it's solid. Again, the rechargeable part, the wire is really, really short, which is the biggest downside to this mouse pad, or excuse me, to this mouse. But as you can tell, there's practically, you have a lot of control when utilizing it. And I'm still kind of torn between the SkyPad using the Ultralight versus the G305, but right now I've been using more of the Ultralight. So as you can tell, even when I pull down with the R99, there's practically, there's very little recoil. It's really nice and has a lot of nice control to it. I know a lot of pros tend to remove the back part of their G304s and G305s. Again, now you see the weight distribution and what it does. Now, another quick tip before I end this whole video and we talk about the last minute thing is that weight is not a bad thing. Sometimes weight actually provides more mouse control for you. If you have a hard time controlling your mouse at a higher sensitivity, sometimes it's better to use a heavier mouse than a lighter one. A lighter one can sometimes cause problems when you're utilizing your mouse. Just know what your intended goal is, and sometimes just going lighter is not always better. That's one of the biggest things I've heard many in the mouse community that I 100% agree with. So just because you can get a mouse all the way down to, let's say, a ridiculous amount like 20 grams doesn't mean it's a better mouse. You got to look at the shape. The shape is really, really important, and the shape for the G304 specifically for me from Logitech is a mouse that I do not see anywhere else on the market. I know the Ultralight has been, its shape is very familiar, but this shape is very specific overall to this mouse, and I find it very, very unique, which is why I'm putting a video on it. Hopefully this is helpful for some of you guys out there, maybe help you find your own shape that you prefer for your own mouse. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.